So let's just start.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. It's Dr. Christina here, and I want to welcome Lauren today. And today, Lauren's going to speak with us a little bit about her experience on her metabolic and lifestyle reset program. And I just maybe want you to start by maybe just letting us know, how did you even hear about us, or what kind of drove you towards your interest in the program?
So it was very random. I knew a practitioner very well who moved to your practice many years ago. So randomly, I've been receiving emails from your clinic, and I spoke with you about 5 years ago on the phone twice, and I loved your energy. So I've received these emails, and then I got this email from you back in, I guess it was September, and I read it, and I thought, well, maybe this is something I can do. And I wasn't thinking about doing anything. I wasn't thinking about losing weight at the time or changing anything. And I got this email. I thought, okay. And I had to decide by Monday. And I said, well, why not? Because it really struck me as things I really wanted to work on, the whole package sounded really good to me. And I just felt a trust for you, essentially, from those 2 brief conversations we'd had many years ago. Yeah.
And coming in, did you have any goals? Were you like, okay, I've read the description of what's going to happen. Did you have any goals?
Yeah. So I'd already started intermittent fasting since the August before. So I'd been doing that part because I was noticing, especially in the pandemic, that the way that I was relating to food had yet again changed. And I was using it more after my now 3-year-old would go to sleep, that I would have cheesies or cookies. And before the pandemic, I never have those things in my house really. But I just was soothing, right, with food. And that's always been a go-to for me, as using food to soothe as opposed to just to nourish and celebrate. And so there was just clicked. And I also have had, probably like many people, an ambivalent relationship with my body weight. And I was at a point where I just felt, well, I would really like to actually get down to the weight I was 5 years ago, before I even started thinking about having Sasha, my son. And I kind of overcame a hurdle in my mind about wanting to lose weight, because for me, there's always been a disconnect about that, in terms of well, I'm healthy enough, I can do what I need to do, I don't need to focus on losing weight. But something just clicked, and being no, actually, I would actually really like to be a different weight than I am now. So I made a goal for the first time of losing 25 pounds, and I did it. And so that feels really great.
Yeah,
so that plus yeah, go ahead, sorry.
It's okay, go ahead, finish up.
Well, it was losing weight. It was also just wanting to kind of support myself. So actually doing it in a way where that was the primary thing. I wanted to be supported in this, and it felt like just reading the description, a holistic way to make these changes and support myself with science as well, because when something makes sense to me, then it's I can be on board. And I already was committed to intermittent fasting because that makes sense. And then anything that throughout the program that you introduced us to, that all the modules and reading and the videos, it all just is oh yeah, that makes sense. And so it's I feel like I have more support, both through the research that you provide, and also of course through actually just meeting with you and the other members, and then the Facebook group, all of that. So just it's I wanted to really get support to do it.
And yeah. You are moms, so were there any other benefits that you found that really could help? Because that's one of my big goals is always to support moms into making healthy choices so that they're healthy enough to deal with those little guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the biggest 2 I'd say is I've always dealt with a little bit of hypoglycemia, and so I've always been anxious and hangry throughout my whole life, since I was a little older than Sasha. And what I found with this program is I don't have that anymore. And so to me, that's everything else is just a bonus to that, to not feel ruled by my blood sugar in the same way, my mood ruled by my blood sugar. So in terms of parenting, it means when I don't if I'm actually frustrated or angry, I actually am. It's not my blood sugar dictating that. And of course I have more awareness now than I did when I was younger, so I could see that, but it's just separated now. So that feels really good. And the other part is, I've got many more years of cooking for Sasha and with Sasha, and obviously want to be as healthy as I can be as a parent. I'm a single mom by choice for him. I want to be as healthy as I can be. And of course, also, which is a side benefit that I didn't actually even think about before doing the program, I want him to eat as healthily as he can. Yeah. And so as a parent doing this program, it meant like my plate was, and still, my plate's like, very healthy. And so Sasha's plate is much healthier too. So really some huge benefits as a parent. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is one of the only things we can control as a parent. There's very little, when you become a parent, you don't realize that you actually have no control over if your child is happy or not, if your child is sleeping or not, if they want to move around. The one thing we do have control over is what we expose them to in our house, and how they eat. I have so many patients who complain that their kids only eat such and such, or they only like this one food that the parent themselves know is unhealthy. But they're like, well, I don't want to, we attach a lot of emotions. I don't want to be mean. I don't want it to be not fair. And you realize that when you start shifting, especially when they're little like Sasha, and I know I did it with mine because I also like food that's not always supportive of my health, but I like all the other food too. So as they get older, they really start to go through the fridge, go through the cupboards. And when you have only healthy options, I think our unhealthiest option is like dark chocolate. And I'm happy for them. It's microbiome boosting. It feels like a treat. It's got magnesium, which helps, regulate our neurotransmitters. So it is such a joy for me to hear when a parent says, oh my God, look at how healthy my kid is eating now because I'm eating healthy. Because that is how we radically change their trajectory of health, by giving them, that good information, including ourselves. But with them, it's like we have this great opportunity to just give them those tools. And I do think if we start at an early age and we model the behavior, they definitely fall along because there's no other option. So it's really, and teaching them the educational piece that I try and impart about, restorative motion, and anti-inflammatory movement and sleep, all those things we can impart. So it's great to see the change. It's always amazing for me to have a patient or a client give me that feedback because, my ultimate goal is to make healthier families and healthier communities. Yeah. And I do think that we need that support. Can you you listed your benefits. Did you have any reservations before you started the program, or you're like, oh, I'm not sure, or you just were ready?
I think by the time I signed up, I was ready. I think also just, for me, again, like support to do it during this time, that during the pandemic is actually a really supportive time to do it because there aren't the social things going on. I'm not going, I have much, and I think also this thing about control that you spoke about, it's just such a huge piece of how, even because of the pandemic, how helpful it is to have control. So that piece. So no, I was really ready. And I think the only reservation I had was essentially just a fear that I wasn't going to be able to do it. That was my reservation. I was like, am I actually going to be able to manage this? And I did, which is incredible because I think the other thing that's really amazing about this program is that at first it seems like, oh wait, I have to this is going to be harder. But in fact, it was got me back to exactly what I love doing, which is I love cooking. I love preparing simple food that's delicious, fresh, using fresh ingredients. And so it's been great. Yeah.
And I do think that there is no way for anyone to be healthy if they aren't preparing their food. It's unless you have a private chef, which would be so nice, you still are going to have to learn how to cook. And it is something that I have noticed that, this generation of 20 and 30-year-olds don't know how to do well. They don't know how to prepare food, which for me is like self-care 101, is learning how to nourish yourself. So being able to do that and do it on a daily basis so your child is like, oh, this is what we do. This is how soup gets made. I think for me, that is one of the goals too, is just really teaching people that self-care really starts with nourishing your body. And from there, you can just achieve so much more when you feel, like you said, that blood sugar stabilization. So if you were to recommend this program to your best friend or someone who is maybe, I don't know, sitting on the fence, has read about it, or just wants to make a shift and is just either afraid of failure, which, now that you've gone through the program, it's kind of hard to fail. You just take longer time to implement those healthy lifestyle habits. Or for people who think that they already know everything, so they can do it on their own. What would you say to them?
I think that the program's more about learning than anything. And I think for me that's a key. It's because there's a permission within the program to be how I am. And so I was very good at being very disciplined. And I also didn't feel like there's any shame in not doing exactly what I was supposed to do. And that kind of supported me to do exactly what I was supposed to do. But what would I say to someone on a fence? I guess what I would say is, like, why not now? Like, if you're thinking about this, if you're thinking about being healthier, if this is something that's important to you, then just do it. I feel very emotional about it because I'm so appreciative. And just go for it, and whatever you get from it, you're going to get something incredible, and I know I have, and it's like the ripple effects, I feel the ripple effects of just doing it for 6 weeks, well 9, but the first part, the ripple effects in my life and now in Sasha's life, and also in my family when I've talked about some of the things I'm doing. So just, if you're on the fence, just dive in, give yourself this gift in this new year. Give yourself this gift. Yeah, I guess that's part of it. It's like, I think I'm worth it. You're worth it.
Yeah, that's so great. I'm so pleased and touched the same way. You gave me goosebumps because my ultimate goal is for people to take control of their health and feel inspired. And I can see that you are inspired by your ability to make change for yourself and your family and extended family. And that, for me, is really, my ultimate goal. And I look forward to next year to see how many more changes you make. And I appreciate you coming on and taking the time. Sasha has quieted down, which is, not a problem. I thank you for coming, Lauren. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you so much. You too. All the best.